Kevin Inoue here, Fight Designer LLC. I wanted to chat a little bit about some of the stuff that's been making the rounds in the last week with the AI video and fight scenes. You know, if you're as plugged in as I am to stage combat and stunt stuff, I'm sure you've seen this go around, the Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise fight. AI is definitely getting better. It's still not there. It still won't do as well as a human will for a number of reasons. And so what I want to do today, I want to make a case for why this fight, while it looks realistic and is impressive from a technological viewpoint, is not from an artistic viewpoint, and it's still kind of crap. Why it's not there yet. But it's moving so fast. How much longer have we got before it is there? And what do we do then? That's anybody's guess. So first, if you haven't seen it, I'm assuming I can do this without copyright issues because you can't copyright AI content. And in fact, they've gotten in legal issues because they're using real actors and didn't get permission. SAG-AFTRA obviously was not happy about that. Let's walk through this video. You know, the first thing you've got, I mean, yeah, AI is not imaginative. It looks at what would people probably do. And yes, a lot of mediocre content, what you would first do when you have a fight scene is you run at each other, probably yelling, especially if it's a battle. So they do that. But then they stop. They build all this momentum and then they stop. You can see Tom Cruise kind of leaning back. Brad Pitt just stops and drops his guard. Tom then throws this nice big lunge punch, which, if you watch it slowly, doesn't actually connect, which, again, is probably true of a lot of bad stunt fights, too. We've certainly seen enough of that looking at people's demo reels or indie film or whatever. You know, there's times when you're throwing it together and you just didn't quite cross the line. But you know, it's disappointing to see, and there's really no excuse for something like AI to do that, except that it's copying mediocre people. Mediocre machine copying mediocre people and using a lot of resources to do it too, but that's a different issue. So yeah, if you slow this down, you can see the punch travels at an angle and misses in profile because it doesn't overlap. Brad Pitt still reacts fine at Brad Pitt, the pixels representing Brad Pitt, to a head hit, but as though it were a straight hit, not an angled hit. And then it kind of turns into, like, was it a stomach thing? Like, the way he doubles over doesn't read right, so I'm not sure about that. And there's no martial logic to this. You know, the first two things, okay, but now we're basically just trading punches. Punch, 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 punch. It's a little syncopated. Zero technique, zero thought. Not enough extension. They're keeping them in tight. Again, humans make these mistakes too, but that's why you need a professional in charge. Digitally speaking, it's awesome. Like, all that hair movement and stuff is amazing. But I see a lot of attacks that are basically just coming down to, like, yeah, it's just pinwheeling hands. You can see when they hook elbows there, it's because they're too close. Like, if they'd actually been trying to reach the face and been extending, it would have been a very different story. So they're doing things that don't make sense. There's also a little bit of some continuity issues when they do the cuts. And, you know, again, it takes someone who knows what they're doing to look at this and be able to say that, which is true of a lot of AI. Like, they can write things that sound reasonable to someone who doesn't know the subject area, but an expert's going to be like, that makes no sense. But you see people aiming off target here. We've got a wind up, boom, catch, catch. So there's a bit of overlap with that left hand thing. And then, like, the arms were crossed, but then it turns into, like, as though it wasn't blocked. So, like, a block that became not blocked. That caught on the punch. We never actually see that overlap, so that's a little weird. That kick is just kind of, you know, cheesecake. But that's, you know, that's what this stuff does. It's a trope machine, basically. It is recycling content and doing what it thinks the average filmmaker would do. Now, my concern, though, is that it does it a hell of a lot cheaper than a good person could. If you have an actual crew, you could make mediocre content like this with live people, sure, but it would cost you a lot more. You'd have to get rights, you'd have to have contracts, you'd have to pay royalties. all that stuff that you don't have to do here, although technically they should have for the images, which is why they're getting a cease and desist from SAG-AFTRA and probably getting sued. So, it's getting better. It may be there at some point. But it's such a waste. As a scientific enterprise, sure, it's an interesting experiment, and let's see if we can figure these things out. Is it worth burning the planet down and using up all our water for? No. Is it worth putting everybody out of work for? No. But man, one of the many reasons why I'm worried about AI is it's going to train us to accept mediocre content that encourages you to not think too hard about it, because that's what's available, because that's what's cheaper and easier. We're just going to go with what's easy rather than what's good. And you're not going to get, by not having people who get hired to do mediocre fights, they're not going to get better to go on to make good fights. So you're going to, after a generation, you will have lost artistry of a whole generation of visual artists, of graphic artists, of painters, of illustrators, of filmmakers, of actors, of choreographers, because we're just going to be kind of feeding it all into this big wood chipper machine and seeing what comes out and calling it good enough, I guess. So if this is what the future of action filmmaking is going to look like, I'm really sad. That makes me really sad. So, for all of you out there who are actually still trying to make films, even if it's just a passion project and no one's going to see it, or it's just a learning exercise with you and your buddies, good for you. Keep doing that. Please keep doing that. Get better. Do more interesting things. Cultivate that next talent who's going to go on and become the next person who people want to rip off. Because that's how things go forward. This is how things find a really destructive path to stay where they are. Let's not do that. So I got a lot of other projects that if you're interested in, I've been sharing things over at PewTube, some prop gun stuff I've been playing with, and still a lot of problems I'm trying to solve there and challenges, and just the headaches. USPS has had issues now. I've had props both returning and going out to clients that need them by a certain time, where they've just gone missing for a while, and who knows? USPS doesn't know. Man, it's just been a rough time. I'm sorry. I am trying to push out the stuff for the Patty Crane workshop, because we have all this content that we still need to edit and vet and share for that. And I know folks are wanting to see themselves, and I want them to be able to. So keep an eye on that. We've got some fun 3-camera fights. I hadn't done 3-camera fights before. And being part of a videography team for that was kind of fun. And figuring out the challenges of editing that's kind of fun. I just did the first one of those recently. Someone's like, oh, you didn't white balance all the cameras first. No, we didn't. So now we got to digitally try and figure out how to make them look better together. So thanks to Nick for help with that. Lots in the works. Directing for Northwest 10, building some puppets for a play that I'm directing. That's kind of fun. But it's community theater. It's what we've got here in Oregon. So I enjoy it, and people who are doing it enjoying it, and that's really what it's about. Hopefully the people who watch it will enjoy it, but we're not really making money off of this. And the more that we have AI pushing out slop, the less anyone's going to be making money off this. So community theater and vanity film projects may be all that's left. Who knows? But hey, maybe they'll get better, because you'll have pro-level talent now who's doing community theater and vanity film projects as a side hustle, because that's all that's left. Hang in there, folks. Stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy, and I hope to see you all at a workshop or something sometime.